There used to be a situation wherein it was understood that if you had committed suicide, then you were not able to convey your life insurance benefits to your beneficiaries. There were specific preclusions on most life insurance policies. As a matter of fact, I think there's only very select life insurance policies that will allow you to vest, that will allow you to convey life insurance benefits or other aspects of your estate to your children or your beneficiaries if you commit suicide. I was concerned for a long time that one of the reasons that John Parnell Walker was alleged to have committed suicide was that either A, he was murdered, and they wanted to characterize it as a suicide so that would impact not only the literal, material, tangible property in his estate, but also his intangible estate, which would also include knowledge, expertise, specific techniques, or specific gleanings he had as part of the investigation in which he was involved at the time of his death. But that he was also one of many that were characterized as having committed suicide, even though the conditions under which it was alleged they committed suicide were nearly physically impossible to actually reconcile. That the autopsies, for instance, revealed that it's just not possible for somebody to put a shotgun to the back of their head in that manner, and yet it's characterized as a suicide. This is one of the things that I was concerned about, specifically the time period during which it happened. See, there was this phenomena that was being discussed around the world, this concept of the suicide bomber. Now, in the United States, in English, the way it was always articulated was as the suicide bomber. And then, corollary with this suicide bomber was this criticism. Was often acknowledged as something that should be worthy of sanctions, if not actually another kind of reprisal, including the severance of pay to entities that would allow it. There were these alarms, there was these reports about specifically how the Palestinian Authority was giving compensation to the families of the martyrs or to the suicide bombers. Now, if they're allowed to be characterized as suicide bombers, then the understanding that they died in battle or that they died in a terrorist operation, depending on how you characterize it, would say something about whatever was running as a concurrent process to the terms of their estate. And this is a very, very important matter to be considering now, especially insofar as I understand that there's been this flip scam that's been going on for a long time. I've experienced it personally for many years. It's as if you are supposed to take on the personage of somebody that would be opposition, that you're supposed to step into as the central counterparty and try on whoever it is that's the opponent and then perform or engage as if you are them. And in part of what I understand this is about playing into the worst stereotype and the worst slander of this person in order to sabotage them. Do you have the power to sit in somebody else's seat and go into the depravity that person has been accused of and do something under the cover of confidentiality or some other form of anonymity or maybe even under immunity and actually engage on an account connected to their identity in a manner that manifests in them committing a crime or engaging in an activity that gets them caught? And I believe they've been doing this for years. I requested Congress investigate the former Secretary of State. I requested they investigate her because I believe she abused her office as Secretary of State in conjunction with deals she had hooked up earlier. I've got no confirmation that anybody in Congress did anything more with that than use me as a political punching bag to advance their own careers and cover up for crimes. And in the course of my own investigation, many of them, including some that are no longer actually in federal office have been exposed as being culpable with a conspiracy just as grand as the one I requested they investigate. I am not going to sit in any of their seats and make it look like they're any more or less heinous than they actually are. Just so you know. Now, I have something I need to review. I haven't looked at it yet. I don't know how specific or germane or relevant what I just said is to what I wrote before that has its anniversary on the 21st. I don't at this immediate moment. But I do understand that what's being held up is somebody else's attempt to make it look like some Palestinian hijacked my plane and then tried to ram it through whatever that crypto scam is at the Federal Reserve pending right now. Right? It's very unfortunate that nobody took what was a good faith effort to acknowledge on the level it needed to be acknowledged that failure to recharacterize appropriately things that had been intentionally mischaracterized in acts of political reprisal should be done in a conscientious manner and to allow for that to provide some security, not only to that specific sector, but to other sectors. Rather, it just seems that it was exploited as part of this continued process of Game Boying the entire planet into seeding anything close to ethical comportment. So I'm going to go ahead and review what I've already written and that was accepted at the time to see just how far from the actual original intent of a good faith effort to address those who claim they're qualified to represent the people. And whatever else ended up happening, especially in light of what is actually reflected on the public record as of November 20th, 2020.